Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. I remember towards the end of high school, it felt like I started getting bombarded with all these questions like, Miles, what do you want to do with your life? Miles, what are you going to study? What are you going to major in? What kind of job do you want? All of a sudden, there was this massive pressure to know exactly what I wanted to do with my life. And I honestly hated being asked these questions because I had no idea. And school never really taught us how to figure out what we genuinely wanted to do with our lives. I feel like the school system was sort of like, well, we're not actually going to teach you how to think for yourself and figure out what you really want to do with your life. But there's this thing called college, which like everyone else does, and the whole system's kind of designed to funnel you in that direction. So you could just like try that and see how it goes. But I felt these external pressures and influences from teachers, classmates, and just society around me that I needed to go to college. I needed to pick a major, do the internships, get the job, and that was like my best option. That was the only real option, and that I should be grateful to even have that option because there's a lot of people in the world who don't get the opportunity to go to college. I sort of just went with the flow. Things went by so fast, and it wasn't until after I graduated college and started working my first full-time job that I realized like, wait, this still isn't really what I want to do with my life. This still doesn't really feel right. And then I finally started taking the time to think deeply about my purpose and what I actually wanted to do with my life. My goal with this video is to help you start figuring out what you, not anyone else, truly wants to do with your life so that you can start building the life that you want to live, not one that society or other people think you should live. It's the video that I wish I could have watched like 10 years ago or have been taught about in school. So what is purpose? Well, there's a lot of different ways we could define it, but I like to think of it as what we are meant to accomplish in the time that we have on this planet. It's kind of like our unique way of contributing to the world. One of the things that Robert Greene talks about in his book Mastery is this idea that we are all unique, both in the physical sense, like our DNA has never been replicated before and never will be, but also that this uniqueness manifests itself in our unique interests. This uniqueness can come in the form of an inner force that naturally pulls us in the direction of doing certain activities. And this force is most easily recognizable when we're kids, early in childhood, when we don't have all these external influences from friends, family, society kind of pushing us in certain directions yet. This unique force that pulls us in the direction of doing certain activities as a child is kind of like a seed that wants to grow into a big tree. And it's our job to, first of all, figure out what the seed is and then nourish it and help it grow into its full potential through the work that we do in our lives. So then the reason why many people who might objectively have pretty solid lives with a good job, family, making some money, etc., still feel this kind of unhappiness, dissatisfaction, or like a piece of them is missing is because their daily work and lifestyle is disconnected from their inner unique force and misaligned with their true purpose. Discovering your purpose and aligning your life to it will fix so many of these procrastination, productivity, motivation issues, and is infinitely more important than how you set up your calendar or which to-do list app you use. When you have a clear purpose and direction that you want to take your life in, you'll just genuinely want to do all the different things in your life. Doing them will energize you. You won't have to worry about kind of disciplining yourself or making a schedule for when you're going to do certain things because you'll just want to do them because they're aligned with who you truly are. It'll start to blur the lines between work and life, but not in a stressful workaholic way, but in a good way because you genuinely enjoy your work. It brings value to the world and also brings you fulfillment in life. All right, so here's an actionable step-by-step process that I'd recommend to start figuring out what to do with your life. The first thing is to turn off all inputs. In today's society, especially with social media, we're so easily influenced by the opinions of others. We're constantly being flooded with all these new ideas for what we should do with our lives. I remember I used to go down all these YouTube rabbit holes of like the best business models to start, top 10 side hustles, all these types of things. And they all sounded pretty good and like, oh, passive income, like this is like this cool idea to get financial freedom and build the life I wanted to live. But then I quickly realized after trying to start multiple of these things that none of them really aligned with what I actually wanted to do with my life. And I was just being influenced by all these influencers. I mean, you can see it in the name that made me want to do these different things. When making big picture decisions about what direction to take in life, it's crucial that The only voice we really listen to is our own, and we take the time to figure out what we genuinely want to do ourselves. So in order for this video to really help you and for you to have a much clearer idea of the direction you want to take in your life within the next 5 or 10 minutes, however long this video ends up being, open up a journal or your notes and just start to write down any of the thoughts that come to your mind as you watch the rest of this video. Once you've kind of mentally turned off all other inputs and influences from other people and other sources, we can start looking inwards and specifically towards our past. Robert Greene refers to this process as us being kind of a detective looking into our childhood and earlier in life for clues that might indicate what our true purpose or life's task is. Think of the activities that you were naturally drawn to when you were a kid. What did you do when you were alone? What did you find joy in doing? For example, for me, I think that when I was really young, I enjoyed doing a lot of puzzles. Apparently, I would do just normal sort of puzzles, you know, puzzle pieces and stuff, and I would just do them really fast. I would like do them over and over again and stuff. And then as I got older, I started to really get into making Legos and stuff. That's kind of what I would do all the time. I just love making these Lego sets. My parents would get me one for my birthday or something, and you know, by that evening, it would be all completed and stuff. And so that might give me some clues about what my purpose might be. And initially I thought, okay, well, that kind of points to maybe something with like architecture, with building things physically. But I think that it's actually more tied towards kind of mental puzzles and figuring out difficult situations, figuring out what to do, how to construct things. And that sort of makes more sense to me now, thinking about what I'm currently interested in. Kind of hard to put into words, but I feel like that's sort of the connection that I'm personally making. So maybe that gives you some ideas of how you can go about thinking about this whole process for yourself. So after we've done some digging into our past, the next thing I would do is look to the present and specifically at your flow state activities. These are the activities that cause you to completely lose track of time, forget to check your phone, and get completely immersed in the task at hand. And these can be a good clue as to what your purpose might be in life. So building off of my theme of solving these puzzles, I think for a while I was really into music production, audio engineering and stuff. And at first I thought that my passion or my purpose was kind of this specific towards music, but in retrospect, I think that's still aligned with the puzzle thing, because I viewed sort of mixing these songs and making these instrumentals as kind of an artistic puzzle. Like there wasn't clear instructions about, you know, where to take the song or the beat or whatever I was making. And it was kind of like just an infinite puzzle with infinite possibilities. But as I was constructing it, you would kind of know when it's done. Like you would kind of feel, it would feel right and complete, if that makes sense. And that's kind of similar to just the general puzzle of life. Obviously, it's not like as simple as a Lego set that has instructions. There's no clear instructions. There's infinite possibilities. But when things are being constructed in the right ways, you kind of know and it feels right. And I also get into a flow state when writing and preparing these YouTube videos, which I think also sort of aligns with this puzzle theme, where I'm building upon an idea, organizing my thoughts, figuring out what the point is I'm trying to make, and then conveying that point in a certain way through the video. Another tip is to consider what you don't enjoy doing. So what I've started doing is making a list of all the different things that I love and I hate. And this can kind of help you eliminate certain things that you know aren't your purpose and narrow in on what are the things that you genuinely enjoy and might give you a clue as to what your life's task actually is. Feel free to pause the video or come back to it if you need extra time to collect your thoughts. But once you have an initial idea of this inner force that's directing you towards certain interests or activities, we can start to look outward at how our purpose can contribute to the world around us. Think about the problems in the world and how this unique interest of yours might be leveraged to help solve that problem. And I think this is really where fulfillment comes from. It's not from satisfying something that's within you, but from using what's within you to help other people. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, this is great and all, but it sounds kind of woo-woo and not really practical. Like, how can I actually start making money and changing my life? And I would say, don't chase money at this point. I think if you chase money, and really if you chase anything in life, it doesn't really come to you. It's when you are focusing on something else that those things actually come to you. So if you focus on purpose and solving real problems in the world, then eventually the money will come. The amount of money that you earn will be a direct reflection of the amount of value that you're providing to the world, the number of problems you're solving and the severity of those problems. So another thing I've been using to kind of guide my pursuits in life is thinking, okay, if I do this thing and I fail by all sort of external metrics, like how much money I make, how many views, subscribers I get, would I, one, still genuinely enjoy doing the thing regardless of that external metric? And two, would I develop some valuable skills or deepen some relationships and connections with other people? So at this point, you might have written down some ideas as to what your purpose might be or what direction to take with your life. And so definitely ask yourself, well, if I fail and this doesn't go well and I don't immediately start making loads of money from this thing, would I still enjoy doing it? Would I still want to do this kind of indefinitely just for the fun of it? And if that's the case, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but if that's the case, that could definitely be a good sign that this is something to pursue with your life. The next thing to keep in mind is that purpose is more of a journey than a destination. It can change and evolve over time. Just like the quote at the beginning of the video, life is not necessarily about finding who you are, but about creating who you are. So it's this idea of building yourself and building your purpose and your life. And maybe that's kind of why I'm so into this stuff, because that kind of goes along with that puzzle theme of like figuring things out and completing the puzzle. The author David Deida talks about purpose as having layers, kind of like an onion. And I think these layers are sort of similar to the clues that we find from our childhood and earlier in life that might indicate what our core purpose is. And as we discover these things, we're sort of peeling back layers of this onion and getting closer and closer to our core purpose and core life's task. I found that in the moment, one layer of this onion might feel like your true calling or purpose for some period of time, but then eventually you may peel back this layer and realize that it was just one piece of the bigger puzzle. And once you put that piece in, you can kind of move on to the next layer of your purpose. So a personal example from me is that I used to be heavily pursuing a career as a music producer. And in the moment, it felt like this was it. This was my calling. This was my thing. But in retrospect, I've realized that that was just a manifestation of one aspect of my purpose. And I've since peeled back that layer and I'm on my new purpose layer, which is my YouTube channel. And although I feel super aligned and passionate about what I'm doing right now, I do recognize that this could just be another layer, another stage in the process of growing that unique seed into its full potential. If you'd like to share your experiences, ask for feedback from others, or have questions directly from me, every time I post one of these videos, I also make a full written guide, which I post in my free online community, Miles Ahead, where you can comment, we can discuss, and I can give you some more personalized advice if necessary. That's the top link in the description. Go click that right now. As always, do something today that your future self would thank you for.